Right, time to start rushing towards the control room now that all 3 generators are active. And good God, even with an invisible timer counting down, I don't have much of a sense of urgency here. Well, these guys are trying to prevent us from getting to the control room are barely a speed bump here. Should I bother wondering why the enemy is suicidally determined to see this plan to hit this specific planet with a space rock to fruition, even when they're still in the blast radius? After all, they were fighting us like hell on the ship back on Zero mission as well, even though that was about to blow up. Well, it certainly sounds like we still have a comfortable amount of time to save the day, but maybe I'm too used to things getting down to the absolute last second. Right, another hand scanner to slow us down, as if we didn't have enough things to hamstring the urgency this stage of the game has been trying to give us. Wait, if these 3 were already waiting for us, then why did we have to outright unlock the door? Hell, how did Gore's mech suit even manage to fit through the door in the first place?
If we don't make it to the top in time, we can kiss this planet goodbye.
It wouldn't be the first planet we've said goodbye to over the years.
Stuff. Right, Samus?
Here, let's do this.
And by do this, he means let's get the next cutscene rolling. It's certainly been a long prologue, that's for sure. Oh, what fresh insanity is this? Ah, Dr. Samus has arrived. And she just made the 3 other hunters in here look like they don't measure up to her, while Samus herself is still standing. Well, if she wants to dance, I have no objections. Really? Nobody decided to move out of the way or try to shoot her while she was charging that big beam? As moments of our hero and our 3 allies getting taken down go, this is rather underwhelming in my opinion. Not that I'm against what Dark Samus did to us, which will become clear a bit later on, but I would have liked it if there was more of a sense of a fight before it happened. Ah well, at least Samus remembered what we came up here for, so the scary space rock isn't actually going to land, and the player has no control over this moment at all. Again, as prologues go, this was rather extended and did not land as intended, at least in my case. Bit of an odd way to handle firing a gun meant to destroy orbiting threats there. And just why didn't the pirates destroy the orbiting spot that the ground station would send energy to in order to fire? It doesn't look like the satellite was any more durable than the Federation ships, one of which we saw get destroyed pretty early in the battle. But again, that probably would have made too much sense. I've got no major issue with the broad strokes of the game's opening. We can have these things happen as a setup, but I don't think we should have played through it. It's sort of like the Phantom Menace from Star Wars, really. I like the overall setup that it created, but the execution was so dull that they could and should have relegated it to the opening text scroll, in my opinion. Metroid has certainly had some text scrolls to open things up over the years, Metroid Fusion being the best example I can think of right now.
We feared we'd lost you. Thanks to your great work, Norion is now safe. At the end of the battle, we found you and the other hunters all unconscious. Our medical
unconscious, and for some reason nobody bothered to finish us off.
Your bodies are now somehow self-generating phazon.
Bodies generating phazon, huh?
stranger,
The
is that
same
there are no
substance that
negative
nearly
effects
destroyed
to your
2
health.
planets in 2
This
previous
led us to
games,
investigate
and has
if any
notable
negative
bad
use
effects
of
on
this phazon.
people's
During
psyche.
the invasion
Or
on
at least
Lorien,
according to the
you must
lore.
have noticed some powerful troopers in new suits. They were
Oh, I
wearing
saw
what
those
we
guys,
call
and I noticed
phazon
that the game
enhancement
wanted to make them
devices,
seem
or
badass, but
PEDs.
couldn't quite manage it
We
considering the
integrated this same
circumstances
phazon
around them.
enhancement device into your armor while repairing your damaged bodysuit.
Huh. Well,
Troopers
that's an
wearing this
interesting
device had
excuse for us
phazon
to get a
punched into their
different suit
weapons
appearance
from
than
an external
usual.
backpack.
Did we
This gives them an extra
have
boost
anything
in
similar
firepower.
like that happen in
But in
Metroid
your
Fusion?
case,
I
think
don't
about it.
fully remember
With
the
this
justification
phazon
for us
closer
having a
to
more
your body,
organic-looking suit in that game at the start.
using your
All I
own
really remember is that the
internal
X-contaminated
Pretty effective,
Samus's
don't you
original
think?
suit, and she had
Why
to be
don't you try the
physically
PED
cut out
now?
of the original.
Seal the
Don't
room.
know how she got the newer one.
Initiate PED program.
Recharging energy reserves.
Well, this is some blatant tutorial stuff. We're not allowed to move on until we destroy all the targets, and they can only be destroyed if we shoot them while in hyper mode. Granted, hyper mode is a decent way to try and make things more tactical, letting you choose if you're going to sacrifice 100 energy for some extra firepower. Unfortunately, on normal difficulty, using hyper mode feels to me like overkill unless the game absolutely forces you to use it. And on hard, the enemies are just damage sponges for the sake of trying to tempt you to use it, and it doesn't feel all that fun to me. The enemy does not get more intelligent the higher the difficulty, and as far as I can tell, they don't become more numerous either. So, I'm not very likely to use hyper mode in this game outside of scripted moments for it, which of course means that both the big changes they made for this game, hyper mode and the motion controls, are things that I feel did not bring enough to the game experience as a whole to feel enough to change up so much of the formula, especially at the start of the game. Anyway, let's just casually stand after spending a month being temporarily comatose. Considering this series loves to depower the main character at the start, I'm kind of surprised they didn't make us more capable in the prologue, just to take those powers away after Dark Samus knocked us out. They certainly had a better setup for that sort of thing than in the first Metroid Prime, that's for sure. Okay, so the only place where these phazon exosuits are being used is the one planet the enemy decided to attack. I suppose that's a justification for the assault, though it's still a bit convenient that it didn't happen until Samus was getting briefed about the pirates taking the training ship. Right. Phazon sickness, which is something we've only read about in earlier games, and in this one we're more likely to actually see in action. And it's fairly easy to guess that it's going to be something we have to worry about since our body is outright generating this stuff. The only real question is how the game is going to pull it off. It could be good, it could be bad. At the very least, they couldn't pull us off us waking up in a hospital, so they kind of lose points on this waking up from comatose thing. Well, I don't see much reason in destroying them since we've got all our supplies. For one thing, it'd be a bit impolite after they bothered getting this gear for us. And for another, they aren't blocking a door we need to use like the crates near the save point last time we were on the ship. And I'm pretty sure this is the same save point we used before the meeting a while ago. No harm in using it before pushing onwards. Yeah, this is the same section of bridge before the meeting room. I'm honestly surprised that the Olympus managed to survive the battle, really.
Cleared to enter the AU chamber. Please proceed through these doors and up the lift. The Aurora unit is expecting you.
Is there a reason we have to go to its physical location instead of just getting a transmission from it like how things went back during the battle? I mean, it's not like it's got a face that's capable of emoting, and it's not like it's got arms so it could hand us something.
Clearance confirmed, G5. Opening chamber vault.
I can appreciate that the chamber has a good amount of security, but I see no reason for us to actually go in there. Though maybe I'm just not looking at things the right way here. Again, we shouldn't need to be on this specific platform in order to communicate with the Aurora here. Well, I suppose it's nice to see how large the biological supercomputer is compared to us.
Welcome, Samus Aran. Let us begin. Time is most critical.
Sorry, but unless there are explicit timers, time is never all that critical in my experience.
Similarly attacked.
I said this back in the first clip, but it's worth repeating. This game is trying to make things more epic by having us travel to multiple planets instead of just exploring one singular world or space station. Unfortunately, that sort of thing kind of makes exploration a bit more of a pain in the ass, and really does not make things feel more exciting than all the other Metroids.
Space pirate stronghold.
Right, of course you decided to separate the hunters. At least things are finally going to start feeling like other Metroid games from this point on.
With all of them 7 days ago, and fear the worst.
Well, if the worst you're fearing is phazon sickness, I'm sure we're gonna have to worry about that as well.
The closest planet is Brio. This will be your first objective. Please.
Sounds like we're gonna end up seeing Rundus first, then.
Understand what happened to Rundus and the other hunters. Good luck.
While that was somewhat informative, I don't see why we couldn't have been told that over the radio. Or why the Admiral couldn't have told us this instead of the supercomputer. Wait, did they seriously park our ship in the exact same space as the last time we were on the Olympus? Granted, it would have been a bit of a pain in the ass to animate a different hangar that the player doesn't actually get the chance to explore in any way. Still, it did kind of catch my attention there. We were already told good luck. Why did we have to receive an extra text saying good luck after the Aurora unit told us that personally? Seems a bit redundant.
Samus, the fleet is now moving to the rendezvous location.
Where is that location that you're rendezvousing to? Who are you going to be meeting up there, and why? And why did you wait until we left the ship to tell us you were going to leave entirely? While we go do the middle section of the game here, you had to speak to you face to, well, brain in a massive jar thing. I know, I'm being nitpicky as usual, but again, it kind of feels worth mentioning. Anyway, we're finally going to get past the prologue, and this is essentially where the actual game begins, and when things finally start feeling like the other Metroid Prime games, though there are still just enough differences that kind of nag at me, like the traveling between planets. Great, now I'm having Star Wars flashbacks. It's kind of a standard thing in Star Wars movies, games, and television shows to give a good amount of attention to everyone parking their ship. Okay, so we've got some lizard thing that decided to turn invisible as we started coming in for a landing. I'm sure that's going to be relatively important on this planet. Hopefully important enough to help me shake off my annoyance from so many clips spent in an out-of-place prologue for this game. Okay, so the first thing we see as we land on a new planet is a big, incomplete war statue thing. Wait, why would torches be used to guide starships coming in for a landing? Why not light bulbs of some kind, and why are the torches lit? If this place is supposed to be the ruins of a previous civilization, like so many other places we've landed in over the course of this series. I mean, it's not like this place is being treated like a currently used spaceport. We've started the franchise standard of our hero landing in a desolate region, with a lot of dangerous wildlife and various other kinds of danger. Visually speaking, this game has been constantly knocking it out of the park here. Everything looks pretty nice. Unfortunately, the story and some of the environmental storytelling seems to be a bit of a stumbling point for this game. And hopefully, this game won't end up feeling as mind-numbing for me as Metroid Prime 2. At the very least, we're going to be getting constant radio transmissions from the Aurora unit that frankly should have been given her own distinct name. That's certainly going to mess with the franchise-defining bit of us being isolated, though maybe that's just the voice acting messing with me here. I don't think I had too much of an issue with Metroid Fusion or Dread when Adam was telling us some things as we kept pushing forward, then made things a little more on the linear side. Hell, maybe it's just residual bad mood after the way the game opened up on us. Again, I've seen a lot of large-scale battles over the years that I've enjoyed. The battle for Norian wasn't among them. Huh. Frozen solid, but still alive somehow. So what, we're suddenly working on comic book rules now? No need to worry about anyone being killed by Mr. Freeze's ice gun. They're just constantly put into a cryogenic state or something along those lines. Considering we saw Rundus able to do ice surfing in the same style as Iceman from the X-Men, I have to wonder why he bothered making such a large bridge. I could have sworn he came to this planet alone. So the energy balls we gather in order to heal have changed from the normal kind to phase-on units for some reason. I can't really say that feels all that interesting, especially considering there's no little gimmick to go with the change of how we heal like we saw back when we had to deal with the X in Fusion or Dread. Granted, you could say that it's a bit unfair to compare this game in any way to Dread since that was released significantly after this was released. Still, Fusion came before Metroid Prime 3 on technically the previous console generation, so I think it's a fair enough point to make. Not much point in pulling that right now, but I suppose it's never a bad idea to make sure we can still get back to our ship if we need to. Assuming, of course, that we don't find another spot to just call the ship to us. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to solve that large structure in the middle of this area. So, we've got a grapple on our suit, but for some reason can't use it yet to do the whole grapple swinging thing. We need a separate upgrade for that. Excuse me for finding that a bit annoying, but I suppose that's not one of the more nonsensical upgrades we've had to get in this series. I probably should have felt more worried that that section of ground decided to start giving way the moment we ran across it. But then, with the kind of luck we've seen so far in this game, we're due for the universe to start pulling some absolute bullshit to make things more annoying for us. we've had too many things going our way so far. Up to and including having allies show up to speed up our fight through quite a few hostiles, even if we didn't really need them in order to kill them. Okay, so the Phazon that Rundus is infected with is starting to get a bit more loose now that he took down this particular enemy. Really surprised he wasn't killing enemies left and right. It's not like Samus has shown much hesitation when dealing with something that attacks her. As a side note, I'm kind of annoyed that we scanned the ship that crashed here instead of the suicidal little bats that tried to ram into us. Hell, why weren't we told before that a Federation ship was downed here? Was that ship here before or after Rundus came here to try to deal with the Leviathan Seed? We don't know enough despite the fact that we had a long prologue. Okay, apparently we can't run on that surface up there. And it looks like this has been a healthy amount of time spent on this clip. I hope nobody minds, as this is going to be a bit of an abrupt ending.